Hello, how you doing? This is the stream. It started. I saw Paul make a comment saying he's there. Hello, Paul. I think Nick is joining us as well. Today I'm going to be going through the funniest moments from Somaligate. I hope you all had a happy Christmas and a good New Year, by the way. Man, I had a nice one. I'm just monitoring it on my phone, so I'm getting it back through there. Man, I love Christmas. There's something about Christmas that sort of makes winter all right, and I just think Christmas should be like another 2 months longer because we're still in winter. I feel like we've sort of climaxed too soon. We should have kept going with Christmas. I'm just going to turn on record on this. This is all admin that I should have done before, but here we go. Here we go. Right. This is the official start of the stream. We've started now. This is it. Before it was just a test. Okay? So I hope you all had a great Christmas. Today I'm going to be going through the funniest moments from Somaligate. This is the scandal in Minnesota where Somalians have been revealed to be defrauding the government of hundreds of millions of dollars for daycare centres and various other things. And some of the daycare centres, there's an early leering centre. I mean, if you're sending your kid to learn stuff and they can't even spell learning, man, that kid is not going to learn anything. You know what I mean? You're going to end up with an Ilhan Omar. We're also going to look at Zoran Mamdani's new housing chief who cried when it was revealed that despite her wanting to seize everybody's private housing and nationalise it all, make it all come under the power of her and make everything communist, she actually grew up in a very large house worth $1.25 million, which is a lot of money for a house in America because the houses there are cheap because they've got lots of land. It's not like London where you got to pay that just for a parking space. Also going to be talking about Stonewall running out of money. Oh, I know. Dig deep, guys. And Hugh Bonneville giving us his opinions. And we're going to be talking about how white liberal women are going to ruin Islam, just like they ruin some other things. And before that, I'm going to do some new material because I'm doing a show in Southampton tomorrow. And so I need to do some new material. And obviously, when I say new material, you might have heard some of this because it's difficult to write a whole bunch of new material. I'm going to be talking about some topical stuff like hope not hate. I'm going to do a video soon on hope not hate. I don't know if you saw hope not hate. Basically, this sort of they describe themselves as an anti-fascist organization, and then all they do is like just dox and bully and harass people and smear people as right wing or far right or racist or whatever. They tried to do it to me, tried to call me racist just because I'm racist, and they try to get people fired from their jobs. They're just blatantly far left communists. One of them's in the Communist Party, spoke at the Communist Conference with his hammer and sickle shirt on, like standing up for the organisation that raped all those German women. It's disgusting. So I'm going to start an organisation called Kindness Not Cruelty that exclusively hire paedophiles and fat communists who've attacked women with hammers, and all our organisation will do is to try to bully normal people into committing suicide. Celebrities will love us and the government will shower us with money. I should have also said at the start to set that up, man, this is why you got to try out new material. I just realised that's just not very funny. Maybe it'll be funny when I do it on stage. Who knows? Hope Not Hate. A senior member of Hope Not Hate was outed as a paedophile. So he's been convicted of some sort of child sex offences. And who'd have thought a communist who spends long hours online trying to dig dirt on people would turn out to be a paedophile? Remember when that kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, was getting attacked by far left agitators? And he shot and hit like 3 of them. And 2 of them turned out to be paedophiles. I mean, we could, Pinochet. It turns out Pinochet was just doing great work for child protection. But anyway, Hope Not Hate have said for years that actually the Muslim grooming gangs are a myth and white people are more likely to sexually assault children, not Muslims. So really, Hope Not Hate are just doing their bit to try and make that statement reality. I also want to talk about stuff that happened last year, like Mr. Beast built 100 wells in Africa, and everybody's like, "Oh, what a great guy!" It's like, no, God might have a plan, and you're messing with it. I mean, 40 years ago, I got caught up in a similar scam. I sent in my Blue Peter milk bottle tops. I sent in milk bottle tops to Blue Peter, and I bought the Live Aid single. Well, I got my mum to buy it for me so that we could help starving kids in Ethiopia. And it helped them. You know what I mean? They got that tin of powdered egg. They got the plumpy nut, whatever it was. And then, 40 years later, Hadush Gerber Selassie Kibatu comes over on a small boat and nonces a kid in Epping. And I feel personally responsible. You know what I mean? God had a plan for Hadush Gerber Selassie Kibatu that involved him dying in a desert with flies in his face and vultures hovering overhead. And I got in the way. I got in the way because of my kind heart. So now I'm going to start a charity that goes over and fills in wells in Africa. I'm fundraising for it now. What else? Maybe that's a bit mean. Let's just see if there's any comments so far. Yeah, there's Nonstick Nick. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Also, what happened last year? In fact, this is this year. Bonnie Blue got baptized. So this vicar splashed his holy water all over her. Then she got baptized. Hey-o! Ah, Jesus, this is terrible. And Puff Daddy got sent to prison last year. And this year, Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, well, ex-president of Venezuela, got sent to the same prison as Puff Daddy. And I'm not sure who's got the biggest oil reserves, to be honest, Puff Daddy or Venezuela. There are apparently over 300 billion extractable barrels of oil in Puff Daddy's bathroom. That's enough baby oil for Puff Daddy to masturbate for one weekend. I know. I read about the Puff Daddy trial, and they didn't get him on any of the big charges. They got him on trafficking. The only thing he actually went to jail for was trafficking. He got like 5 years or something for trafficking prostitutes, which just seems a bit mean. All that means is he got an Uber. Like, you know, you send an Uber for a prostitute, you're trafficking a prostitute. So now, all the next generation of like rich guys who use prostitutes and lots of baby oil aren't going to traffic them. They're going to be like, no, you've got to get the bus. Otherwise, I'm going to jail. Otherwise, I'm recording my next album down the phone. You know what I mean? I watched the documentary about it as well. I got to say there's some good things about Puff Daddy. Like, rappers come out and they're all like, yeah, guns and bitches and hoes. And it's like, well, yeah, but also you sucked Puff Daddy's dick to get a record deal. It kind of takes the sting out of the, you know, all the gangster stuff when, you know, they've got a sore bum and they smell of Johnson & Johnson. Also, I watched the documentary, had all the rap videos from the 90s. Why were they always in the bath? Like, every single rap video, they're in a bubble bath with, like, some women and stuff and some candles. Just relaxing. It's like you're going to watch some Ally McBeal after that. Anyway, I went to Australia last year. I don't know if you know this about Australia. There's a lot of things that can kill you. Even the koala bears can give you chlamydia. It's true. Google it. I know you're probably on a computer. Koala bears can give you chlamydia. You know how I found this out? My ex-girlfriend went to Australia and she came back with chlamydia and she got it from holding a koala bear. She told me. I couldn't believe it. It was it was terrible. And she got genital warts from a kangaroo. Australian women are scary though, you know what I mean? Like, French women are all like, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? And, you know, English girls are like, you know, if you kiss me, I shall blush. Australian women are like, oh, do you want to rip it up me shitter? It's a different country. What are people saying? Huff and puff and knock the jazz out. I don't even know what that's referencing. Oh, is this Puff Daddy? He misheard the lyrics to Live Aid. He thought it was Feel the World. That's a line. That's going in. Paul says he smells of Johnson's too. We won't pry. We won't pry. There's plenty of reasons you could smell of Johnson's. I hope he's talking about the brand, not the body part. Also, I want to talk about Turkish barbers. Obviously, I've been at the ultimate Turkish barber, the one that puts hair into your head. But I also go to Turkish barbers in London because it's cheaper. But then I read that, like, Turkish barbers are just a front for laundering drug money because all the Turkish gangs all the Turkish gangs like run the drug trade and stuff. And I'm like, well, why is my haircut costing 25 quid? 25 quid is literally the cheapest you can get a haircut in London for now. I used to pay like a fiver. This wasn't like Sweeney Todd times. This was like 12 years ago. And now it's like 25 quid. And it's being apparently subsidised by like the heroin trade. Like, surely I paid for this haircut when I bought my heroin. Can I not take my wrap in and get a discount? I don't know. Also, this is a true story. Some people say this is apocryphal. This is a true story. So our primary school was having LGBTQ awareness training for the children. This is a primary school in Birmingham to try and, they wanted to get in early and confuse the kids and get them to transition. No, they wanted to teach about, LGBTQ stuff, accepting different sexualities and lifestyles and all the rest of it. And the teachers were saying how some kids have got two mummies and some kids have got two daddies. And this little Muslim boy pipes up and says, oh, I've got two mummies. And the teachers were absolutely delighted, because this is so progressive. Not only did the kid have two mummies, but he's also brown, so that's like double progressive. That's progressiveness squared. Everybody's getting a gold star on their diversity report. So they called this little Muslim kid up to the front of the class and said, Abdul, would you like to explain to everybody why you've got two mummies? And he's like, yeah, my dad's got two wives. Also, I want to know how after every terror attack, politicians come out and say, this is nothing to do with Islam. Islam is the religion of peace. I don't know. I mean, it was a Muslim guy that did it called Muhammad Islam ISIS Mosque Face Terror Jihad, and he was wearing Islamic robes, and he was carrying a copy of the Quran, and he's draped in an Islamic flag, and he shouted Allah Akbar, and he's claimed the terror attack in the name of Islamic State. I think it might have a little bit to do with Islam. Nobody else gets treated like this. Like, there's a guy running around dressed like a Nazi soldier, shooting people with a Luger while shouting Heil Hitler and waving a big swastika flag with a pointy helmet on and a monocle, and he's called Fritz von Bosch. I don't think the politicians would be coming out and saying, well, this has got absolutely nothing to do with Nazis whatsoever. We stand with the Nazi community at this time. Nazis are the fascists of peace, and we will not stand for any backlash against peaceful Nazis. Not that I'm saying there's any similarity between Nazis and Muslims, of course, because, Nazis could get the trains to run on time. But also, the politicians after the Bondi Beach massacre were so relieved that there was a Muslim hero that they could deflect to. They could turn around and say, well, look at this good Muslim who didn't shoot anybody. You know what I mean? This Muslim guy got up and tackled one of the shooters. Well, I mean, he tackled him for a moment. The hero Muslim guy was then shot by the police, possibly because there's too many women in the police force. I'm not sure. I'm just an opinion. But the politicians could say, look at this moderate Muslim who saved the day. Look at this moderate Muslim. Doesn't this just prove that mass immigration is a fantastic success? It's like, I don't know, if I was having a barbecue and 16 people got food poisoning and died, but there's like one sausage roll that didn't kill anyone, I wouldn't be like, well, what a fantastic success. My food hygiene regulations have been, look at this one sausage roll that didn't kill anyone. I don't know. Like, as long as you can rely on a moderate Muslim being there when one of the radicalized Muslims wants to slaughter lots of people, that's the perfect system somehow. Is the term moderate Muslim not a bit of a red flag in itself? We've got to hand out awards to people who haven't murdered anyone today. I mean, wow, what an achievement. Like, here's a gold star for basic civilization. Obviously, I don't want to get accused of Islamophobia. Apparently that's terrible. Labour are going to make it illegal. But I don't know why people get a hard time for Islamophobia and not arachnophobia, because, I think Islamists are a little bit scarier than spiders. You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm saying there's any similarity between Islamists and spiders. Spiders have got hairy legs and they kill a surprising number of people in hot countries. But, all a spider's going to do is maybe scuttle out from under the couch and give you a little jump. Like, Islamists are definitely scarier than that. They kill people, they do female genital mutilation. They're scarier. Like, imagine if you got home and you sat down on your couch to watch some TV and then an Islamist comes scuttling out from under the couch. Like, there's Osama bin Laden, he scuttles across the carpet over into the curtains because he thinks it's his wives. You know what I mean? They've got a little slit in the curtain, and you're like, you're gonna shit yourself, but you're gonna think, well, he's gone for now. He's behind the curtain somewhere. Hopefully, he's not gonna come out, and he's not gonna make a little nest and create lots of little Osama bin Ladens. So you think, I'm going to relax, I'm going to go upstairs for a bath, and you go into the bathroom and you turn on the light, and there's Abu Hamza in your bathtub, and he can't get out, he's scrabbling at the sides. You can't get any purchase on the sides of the bath because his hands are hooks. It's terrifying. You're supposed to try and get him out the window by getting a pint glass over his head. It's terrible. I get called a Nazi a lot, which is ridiculous. I hate socialism. I'm actually a big fan of communism because it's the leading cause of death of communists. But calling me a Nazi, I think that's very offensive to Nazis. Like, if a Nazi came back today and saw me as the Nazis, he's going to be like, what the fuck went wrong? You know what I mean? We used to be the tough guys. We used to be organised. And also Hitler was an art student who blamed rich Jews for all of his failings and, wanted to exterminate Jews. I think he would have been quite happy on the left. I think his pronouns would have been he, Himmler. But people have got the wrong idea about right-wing people. You know what I mean? We're not about, being racist, sexist, homophobic anymore. It's ridiculous. I hate racism. Like my mate Rupesh, he was the victim of racism the other day. He's in the middle of the street in London, and Rupesh is there minding his own business, and this big gammon guy comes up to him and is like, "You're disgusting. Oh, you shouldn't be here. You're disgusting." Oh, and Rupesh was so upset, like right there in the middle of the street. He was so upset. He couldn't finish his shit. Also, how can it be racist? I'm mixed race. My mum's Anglo and my dad's Saxon. And, people call me racist because of because I talk about the small boats coming across. But, that's not racism. That's sexism. If this was hot Somalian babes coming across, with their tits out like in National Geographic, just shimmying in their grass skirts, I'd be like, coming in, ladies, coming in. I'm going to pound you like you pound those yams. But it's not, is it? It's always fellas. I don't know, and I've just seen the impact of mass immigration living in London. Like, in the time that I've been in London, so many Somalians have arrived that parts of London just don't feel like Bangladesh anymore. It's terrible. Also, not that I've got anything against racist people, by the way, but I've noticed some of the stuff that racist people say doesn't make sense. Like the anti-Semites. They're like, oh, Jews run the banks. Jews run the banks. It's like, well, good. Like, that looks like the sort of job for Jews. It looks very complicated, you know what I mean? Let's get these little nerds on it. You want a different demographic running the banks? You want Spaniards running the banks? You want Scottish people running the banks? That happened in 2007. How did that go? How did that work out for everybody? Also, it's a free country. There's nothing stopping you banking with whoever you want to bank with. If you want to bank with the ZANU-PF Bank of Zimbabwe, you can go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I've got a mortgage approved at 50 trillion%. Fantastic. But apparently, even if I pay it back, my house still gets repossessed because I'm white. Also, the first slaves in the Caribbean were Scots and Irish. This is true. The first. Oh wait, here's somebody's got a Little Ahmed. Nick's got a joke here. Little Ahmed says, "Mummy, are your hands so soft because you use fairy washing up liquid?" And his mum says, "No, son, it's because I'm 14." Nice. The first slaves in the Caribbean were Scots and Irish. This is totally true. Like, there were laws back in the 1600s or whatever that any drunk or vagrant Scottish or Irish person could be taken over to the colonies to work in the colonies. And drunk or vagrant, that was pretty much all of us. And we were taken over as indentured servitude. So it's not quite the same as being a slave. Like, with indentured servitude, you get to earn your freedom back after 7 years. But that's kind of worse in a way, because then you come back to Scotland and you got to try and get a job in Scotland with a 7-year gap in your CV, and you're sitting there in the job interview, which isn't a good place for a Scottish person to be anyway. And they're like, "So what skills have you got?" And you're like, "Well, I'm really, really good at chopping down sugarcane." But you're in Aberdeen. It's not going to be any use. You know what I mean? If it was digging up turnips, maybe. But yeah, Scots and Irish, 40,000 Scots and Irish went over as indentured servitude. We're pretty much, taken over there. We're the first slaves, but fortunately we made terrible slaves. You know what I mean? We were just so sunburnt, and so lazy as well. Like, they left us there on the sugarcane plantation the first day, And they came back the next day and we chopped down all the sugarcane, but we built a job centre out of it and we were in there signing on. So that helped us. The other thing I've noticed about getting called racist is quite often it's a liberal white woman calling me racist who believes in astrology. And I'm sorry, but astrology is just racism for people who aren't racist. Like, they're like, oh, I'll date anybody. I'll date, a black person. I'll date anybody of any gender or whatever. Oh, but you're born between the 26th of May and the 14th of April. You can fuck off. You know what I mean? What is that? That's just so arbitrary. It's mental. I'm going to start doing actual racist horoscopes. Everybody's like, wow, this horoscope is so accurate. I'm gonna do stuff like today, this week, a black man will use his phone on the bus without using headphones. He's gonna play videos out of the and everybody's gonna be like, wow, this is so accurate. How does he do it? This week, a black woman will talk in the cinema. People are gonna lose their minds. Anyway, let's move on. Pizzagate. I wanted to talk about Pizzagate because it's funny with Jeffrey Epstein getting sent down. It's a shame he's not with us. He'd probably be having a great time with Puff Daddy in that jail right now. But Jeffrey Epstein, previously, people were like, oh, there's this QAnon Pizzagate theory. And, when the elites who control us, when they're all in a child sex ring and they use these codes and you order a pizza and you get a catalogue with furniture and the chest of drawers costs £18,000 and blah blah blah, and that's how they do it. And it's like, no, the Jeffrey Epstein files revealed that it's just Jeffrey Epstein using his regular Gmail with his regular signature at the bottom, copying in his bank manager, his personal assistant, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, like saying like, can I arrange for an underage girl to have sex with and I will pay money using my bank account? And it's like that. It's like that. Anyway. Also, what happened to the left? In the 90s. I was left-wing in the 90s. I sort of feel like I still am, but everybody's just gone crazy. But in the 90s, we were cynical. We didn't trust big business. We didn't trust politicians and stuff. And now, like, big business worked out how to sell stuff to left-wing people. They make sure their product has got values. So their ice cream will support pride or something like that. Ben & Jerry's will have pride flags on the side of it. Or Ben & Jerry's ice cream will, like, support small boat migrants or something. And then people will be like, I buy this ice cream because it aligns with my values. It's fucking ice cream. It's ice cream. It doesn't have any values. They just want you to buy the ice cream. They want money. It's an ice cream company, not a political party. Anyway, probably needs a punchline. Nick, if you could come up with a punchline for that as well, that'd be great. But what else was I going to talk about? Actually, what time is it? I should probably move on to stop doing new material. I did want to talk about life insurance because, like, my wife's like, oh, you've got to get life insurance. And I'm like, what's life insurance? And it's like, well, she's like, well, if you die, then I get money. So I can, I guess to make up for me not being there, harassing her. And I'm like, I don't want an extra incentive for my wife to kill me. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm already borderline. And like, I don't want to throw a financial incentive in there as well. Like, hey, if you do kill him, you get 500 grand. No, let's not do that. Let's not have life insurance. How about, I'd be more comfortable if my wife got fined, if I die from any cause. But yeah. What should we talk about now? Let's move down. I'm just going to see if there's. I wanted to talk about Western liberal women being behind mass immigration because women run on attention. That's the major fuel. In the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's not oxygen or water or anything that women need. It's attention, and being a liberal women, part of the attention is having the right opinions to broadcast it to everyone. But I think all women, not to be crass and sexist, but all women like to look sexy and think that men think that they're sexy and stuff, and other women think that they're sexy. They want to look nice. They want to look nice. So they used to get attention from dressing up sexy so that men would talk to them. But then one woman realised she could get more attention by complaining about men talking to her. And, the whole Me Too thing and everything. That was maximum attention for women. So then the men stopped talking to the women. Like, the liberal women literally cucked liberal men out of talking to women. And then they're like, shit, we don't get any attention anymore. You know what I mean? Now I don't get the old attention of them talking to me, and I also don't get the other attention of me complaining about them talking to me. I get no attention whatsoever. So now they're like, well, we've got to have open borders. We've got to import rapist cannibals. You know what I mean? It gives me a tingle in my fanny. They're all like, oh, he sexually assaulted someone on Bournemouth Beach. Oh, imagine what he'll do to me. Anyway, I'm against stopping the boats, by the way. Like, Brexit was the British people asking for a restriction on immigration from Europe. And as a result, the government restricted immigration from Europe and ramped it up from every third world shithole. You know what I mean? The Horn of Africa, just bringing all those people here. And now that people are trying to restrict immigration from those third world shitholes, I know the establishment is going to bring another. It won't be the Boris wave. It'll be the Starmer wave of immigration. It's going to be brain-eating, acid-spitting aliens from Mars. You know what I mean? Somebody actually asked me about this, said it looked like a Martian ray gun. That's why I thought of that bit. It might be a terrible bit. We'll find out when I do it on stage tomorrow. Instead of shouting it. If you were in the room, I'd be able to see if you're laughing. Anyway, I don't think Somalia is sending us their best people. I don't think a lot of these countries, Afghanistan, they're not sending us their best people. It's like the left all say, oh, these are all doctors and engineers. Oh, well, it's nice to know our kids are getting molested by someone who's got solid engineering credentials. That makes me feel much better about it. I saw a guy with a t-shirt that said pro-trans, pro-gay, pro-Islam. It's like, are you also pro-contradiction? Are you pro-completely incompatible concepts? It's like pro-free speech, pro-Europe. Doesn't make any sense. And it's funny. Like, I flew into America the other week. I didn't really. This is a joke I wrote for Rob Schneider. They undoubtedly won't use because it's not funny. But I flew into America. Like I said, I did fly into Ireland, but they didn't do anything. But when you fly into America anyway, that passport control, it's security. They're insistent that nobody has any flora or fauna or any seeds or fruit or mud from any river or any food, just in case it upsets the delicate balance of the ecosystem. You can't even bring a banana in. The ecosystem could be destroyed by this new thing that brings in germs or something like that. Then you're on the plane, you're sitting in between two Somalians. Won't they have an impact? And I've been accused of thinly veiled Islamophobia, but if it's thinly veiled, surely Muslims will love it. Anyway, let's see. What else have I got? I think Western women love making excuses for Islam. They're like, oh, they're conducting female genital mutilation. That's so progressive. They can find the clitoris. I don't know. I believe in Muslim God because the universe started with a big bang. Somebody's got to have done that already. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's hack. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move down to this. Well, you know when people say, I'm going to just do a little bit more new material and then I'll start ranting about other stuff. People say, oh, it's just a religion. It's just a religion. Like Islam's not responsible for terrorism. It's like, well, where are the Christians running around stabbing people going, hallelujah? Why do you never see a Tibetan fly a plane into a skyscraper while screaming, Like, you never see a Chinese woman drive a car into a Christmas market and get out shouting, Jing, jing, jing. Well, you do see a Chinese woman drive a car into a Christmas market, but she's just trying to park. They're not great drivers. But you've got to admit that Allah Akbar is a fun thing to shout. I think that's why it's caught on. It's catchy, it feels good, it gets attention. If you shout it next time you're queuing up at the airport, it'll get attention. I genuinely think Scientology will take over from Islam, though, because it's the only religion with something that's more fun to shout than Allah Akbar. You know what they shout at their get-togethers? They shout, hip hip hooray. I mean, that guy L. Ron Hubbard, they knew how to sell a religion. Or he might have just been lazy. You know what I mean? The hymns are probably Britney Spears songs. Okay. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at some things. That's the new material comedy out of the way. I hope it was all right. Some of it will probably work tomorrow. I've got this. So this is how do I make this fit into that square? This is that fitting? Let's just see. Let's have a look. Here we go. Is that fitting? I can't tell. Oh yeah, that's kind of fitting. Anyway, so this is an aid to Zoran Mamdani, which is a difficult thing to Mamd. That's a difficult, you know. How can a culture grow up having difficult pronunciations like that? But he's been called a communist, and people say, no, he's not a communist, he's a communitarian or a collectivist or a democratic socialist. But the substance is communist, and the label matters a lot less than how he uses power. So the big warning sign, Zoran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York, appointed Sia Weaver to run the mayor's office to protect tenants. So this is a job with huge leverage in a city dominated by renters and with huge, rent controls already. So she's 37 years old. She's a rent control absolutist who, treats it like a cure-all and explicitly wants to shrink real estate values. She says that private property is a tool of white supremacy. She says that home ownership is racist, and she frames her political aim as impoverishing the white middle class. I mean, they still voted for him. You know what I mean? Like, they knew this was coming. They still vote. Like, what is wrong with people? But her worldview reduces American wealth to genocide, slavery, and stolen labor, and she endorses overtly race exclusionary politics, such as, no more white men in office. So she hates private property, she hates home ownership, she thinks it's racist. What do you think her mum's house is like? I think you already know the answer to this. She comes from a family that lives in a $1.25 million house in Tennessee, and she was confronted by a Daily Mail journalist and started crying about it. Here she is crying, real messy crying as well. She obviously doesn't believe in shampoo, judging by the state of her. Shampoo is a symbol of the bourgeoisie. So there she is. Oh God, she's doing one of those big messy cries. That's proper sort of outside the job centre in Dumfries. That look. Well, you lend us a tenner. I'm due a rent check. Anyway, everybody's going to be due a rent check under Zoran Mamdani. So she's the privileged former Bryn Mawr College student. Stunning hypocrisy was uncovered by the Daily Mail on Wednesday when we revealed her mother owned a gorgeous craftsman home in Nashville worth $1.4 million, more than what I said. It's already increased in value. That is how out of control property prices are. She said, the Daily Mail says the Tennessee city is America's fastest gentrifying. But obviously this lassie, Sia Weaver, if that's how you pronounce it, C-E-A, could be like one of these Irish things where it's like C-E-A and then you pronounce it like Bob. But she comes from family wealth. Why are communists are always from family wealth? Like the richest kids are always the most communist. Is it because they feel guilty? I think it's because they feel safe. I think it's because they think nothing can disrupt that structure, that nothing's going to tear down that structure, that they're always going to be wealthy. They think it's a safe thing to do, like going into one of those rooms that you can smash everything up in. I don't think they realize how fragile everything is. And if you put communists in charge, especially in a place like New York, where, if you actually looked at the heritage Americans, the Europeans that went over there, the Brits, remember we invented America? We owned it. Somehow they got it off us. Still don't know why. But if you look at the heritage Americans, they'd vote for the other guy, whoever it was. Who was it? Was it Bloomberg? Some guy was running on the other side. And instead, everybody votes for Zoltan, the fortune teller from Big, because it's now been filled with people that aren't heritage Americans. It's been filled with migrants. They've brought these people in because they know they're going to vote left wing. So then the left funds all these NGOs to bring them in. I mean, really, Trump, for all his faults, thank God he's doing something to stop that. But this woman, Sia Weaver, she's expressed intense animus towards white men. And she's fantasized about them burning in the afterlife for taking credit for women's work. But, that's all just your standard liberal women's opinions. You know what I mean? These are things that they might seem a little bit troubling now, but they were very popular for a long time. I'm more worried about her policies and Zoran Mamdani's policies around housing. So they want to cap rents so low that landlords can't maintain the buildings. They can't make any money off it. So then they're going to be able to cite the disrepair that results from landlords being unable to maintain the properties as justification for the city to seize the properties and take these houses back into state ownership, like in the Soviet Union. So the end goal is broad expropriation, so massive government interventions and effectively public housing for everyone. And the likely result is historical pattern catastrophe. So it's going to be collapsed housing, wrecked communities, and immiseration. So this is what happens when communism, I don't know why people repeatedly have to try communism. Oh, maybe it'll work this time. No, it never works. People don't seem to understand. They think that, everything's going to be shared. It's going to be so nice. It's going to be kind. We'll be kind, won't we? So no, there's just going to be, in a communist system, it'd be a guy like me that becomes in charge of, whatever housing block or whatever I'm in charge with. And I'll just use it to enrich myself. Because that's what I'm like. You know what I mean? That's people aren't nice. You think I'm gonna be full of we must do everything out of love and kindness. No. I mean, I'll say that. I'll say that to get people to vote for me or whatever. I'll say the right things. But no, under a communist system, you just get people using their position in the system to enrich themselves. And obviously then the system stops functioning properly and it stops actually making enough stuff to actually make anybody rich. Never, not even the people running it. And also it's inherently inefficient. Under the Soviet Union, they had different panels and groups, like people sitting around a table, committees, deciding on the economy, deciding on, who's going to grow the barley, who's going to grow this, who's going to grow that. And people were very excited about this. They thought this was going to be much better than the free market because you're going to have experts deciding who grows what, who designs. But what people don't understand is the free market is incredibly complex, and it works because everybody's working to their own, their own individual self-interest. But even, making things like, a coffee cup, you've got to grow the trees for the paper, you've got to cut them down at the right time, you've got to transport them to the pulping factory, you've got to pulp them and process them into paper, then they've got to be formed into a coffee cup and got to be taken to distribution centres and put in the coffee shops. That's just for a paper coffee cup, one of the simplest things. So communism never works, you know what I mean? It never works, but people always want to try it. It's being tried again in Europe right now. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the Somali daycare centres. Now, I'm just going to scroll down to where I'm just going to pull up the things. Here we go. Here's the funniest thing. I'm gonna start with this video. You might have already seen it. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I've got a new system that should be is the screen less juddery now. It should be less juddery. Let's watch this guy's video. So basically there's been a scandal brewing for a while now in Minnesota. Because there's huge amounts of fraud in there, not just in the daycare centres, but it was exposed by this guy, Nick Shirley, who's just done an amazing job. He went and videoed outside the daycare centres, and he shows that they don't have any kids. They're getting paid. He's got the bits of paper showing how much government subsidies are being paid to these daycare centres, and there's no kids. They look like scam buildings, like a shell enterprise. Some lockup somewhere with a sign on it. Like this one here, the Quality Leering Centre. Yeah, I can't Can't wait to send my kids to the Quality Leering Centre so they can leer all about, you know, how to spell. Hey, maybe it's a specialist school teaching Shakespeare. Anyway, let's see what Nick Shirley has to say.
Here in Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong and they said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday, and if you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out. No one's working, midday, children should be in here, and this place is licensed for 99 children, and this is the outside. There's no windows, no nothing, and like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota. The government is complicit with this, and this is just one of the hundreds of child daycare centers here inside of Minneapolis being ran by the Somali population. It's sad that it's happening here in Minnesota, and it stinks that it's happening and it's being labeled on the Somali population. However, that's just the facts of what's happening here inside of Minnesota. $1.9 million for this daycare center that can't even spell learning right.
Mental, absolutely mental, and he's doing a great job. He's doing the job that, you know, the government should be doing. That, you know, we should have, you know, fraud specialists. You know, the mainstream media should be doing this. Instead, you know, this is why we need citizen journalists. They do, at the moment anyway, they seem to be uncovering a lot more stuff than the mainstream media would. Because of course the mainstream media would be like, oh well, we can't possibly, because that would be racist if we do anything. It's like, no, it's fraud. It's fraud. Whoever's doing it, you know. Or maybe the Quality Leering Centre, they might have just put all the resources into teaching the kids creative accounting instead of spelling. I don't know, but I've sold all my Bitcoin. I'm now just babysitting Somalian children. Apparently, the way it works is that somebody explained this to me. So if you've got like a bunch of you know, friends, cousins, brothers, and stuff, so they've all got kids. They all get set up as a daycare center, and they all say that they're taking each other's kids in, and then they all get to claim the money, the subsidies for the kids. And it's hundreds of millions in Minnesota is spent on this stuff. And then, you know, the stories that might be apocryphal, but who knows, the stories of cash getting taken back to Mogadishu, being spent on real estate developments in Mogadishu, skyscrapers going up in Mogadishu, just huge amounts of dollars being siphoned out the country, people buying Lamborghinis in America and stuff. It's mental. And no kids at these day centres. I don't know, when I was a kid, I had an invisible friend, and he actually went to nursery in Minnesota, run by a Somalian. But it's amazing that Democrat politicians can spot racism that doesn't exist at like 1,000 feet. You know, they can be like, that's racist. They can find anything racist. That Zoran Mandami's aide says that home ownership is racist, but they can't spot a $250 million fraud ring. It's ridiculous. And I'm not having a go at Somalis. You know, Somalis are great at raising the national debt. Let's have a look at another one. There was a break-in at a daycare and documents were stolen. This daycare was about to get audited. It was about to get audited. And then somebody broke in and stole all the documents. Let's have a look at this. Oh my God, this is funny.
Into the daycare. This is where they say the vandals got into the daycare through cinder block and appeared to be unsuccessful when trying many other ways. The daycare says it appears the vandals first tried to saw into the door of the Family Dollar next door in the shopping center, but that didn't work. The manager claims those who broke in went straight to the office, stealing information of the many children who were taken care of here.
We are not a part of any harmful.
Because you would, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? You're like, oh man, I'm gonna break in somewhere. I need some money. I gotta get my fix. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna break into a daycare center and steal their documents about the children, because I'll be able to sell them down the pub. You know what I mean? Like, what? Why would somebody buy a whole bunch of boring bits of paper? Why would somebody steal documents like that? And also, man, let's just hear what he's got to say.
Things that are being said.
Now, this is where they say the vandals.
We are not a part of any harmful things that are being said.
So that's the daycare center manager. He manages a daycare center. Are you kidding me?
We are not a part of any harmful things that are being said.
That 12-year-old Puff Daddy guy is managing a daycare center. Okay, he's the daycare. Well, I mean, he filled in the forms for the money. Okay, let's just have another quick look at this, because look, see where they're looking at where they broke in. They say people came through cinder block and then broke into the office like that. That looks like the cinder block is actually in the way of the plasterboard that's been smashed through. That looks like it was done from the inside. I'm not to cast aspersions, but like, was that? Can we get some forensics on this? Or are the police too scared of getting called racist? But yeah, man, who steals documents right before an audit? I mean, documents. You'd maybe go for jewellery first. Go to the daycare centre manager's house and get his Lamborghini. Anyway, regarding the funding that goes out to people, people have spoken out to defend it. Let's have a look at this. Oh, let's get the noise.
Able to work, or if childcare is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school. I understand fraud is bad.
So that was described on Twitter as a Freudian slip. Because you can tell. Well, I mean, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but it's sort of like she realizes she said something she shouldn't have said.
And I do see some signs over here that say stop fraud, and I agree, stop it. There are wait lists for these programs that are years long. There is fraud,
There is fraud. She's done it as well. She's done it as well. Oh my God. Also, she's like, the wait lists are years long. Yeah, no wonder. No wonder, because there's like 1 million kids who don't exist on it. Or there's like, they're double counting. When I worked in the public sector, when I worked in criminal intelligence and stuff, and for local authorities, I mean, once I was in charge of, managing our links with this charity. And so this charity was basically double billing. Anytime it bought something, like we'd give it money for, if they needed a photocopy or whatever, we'd be giving them grants and funding and all the rest of it. But then they'd also be getting funding from other organizations, from the mayor's office, or from national funding from Westminster or whatever. And so they're sending the receipt for the same photocopier to like 2, 3, 4 funding sources, getting paid for it 4 times and keeping the money. And nobody did anything because it's too politically difficult to do it. They didn't care. Nobody in the public sector cares. You call it out. I got taken off looking after them. I don't know if I was taken off because I raised that, but might have just got taken off because I was quite lazy. But anyway, let's look at some more stuff. But first, I just want to talk about what the scandal is all about. It's only part of a much bigger Minnesota story. So the state's got a sprawling taxpayer-funded benefit ecosystem that's repeatedly been treated like a cash machine. There's very little oversight, very little accountability. Doesn't seem to be audited well. The poster child for this is the Feeding Our Future case, where federal prosecutors say the operators exploited pandemic-era child nutrition rules. So in March 2025, the Department of Justice announced convictions for Amy Bok and Salim Saeed in what it describes as roughly $250 million fraud scheme built on fake meal counts and paperwork. So they were, again, it's the same as the daycare thing. They're supposed to be providing meals to whoever. They're just faking it. They're faking the kids, faking the recipients, faking whoever's getting these meals. Conservatives look at that and see a governing culture that prioritises getting money out the door and then hides behind the process and good intentions when the receipts don't add up. I mean, that's the way charity is all round the world, and the way the government works with charity. Honestly, we need to just go through and unpick all the charities, all the NGOs, everything. On the childcare side, specifically, Minnesota's own legislative auditor has been warning for years that the Childcare Assistance Program, CCAP, which I think is the one being called into question here, is vulnerable. Fraud hasn't yet been proven in court, but there's apparently like hundreds of millions of dollars going missing. And investigators and prosecutors have acknowledged that the way the program is administered makes serious cases hard to prove. So the current flashpoint came after that viral video by Nick Shirley claimed a cluster of publicly funded Minnesota daycares were basically empty storefronts. But when regulators and CBS showed up, they found active licenses, recent inspections, and plenty of safety and record-keeping citations, and no recorded evidence of fraud at those two specific sites so far. Man, where were the kids then? During the week, a weekday. That's when your kids go to daycare. I know, I've got a kid in daycare. It's mental. And I pay as well. Don't get any money from Tim Waltz. So CBS News said a right-wing takeaway can hold two thoughts at once. The clickbait may have run ahead of the evidence in those particular cases, yet the system is plainly leaky. So in May 2025, an Inspector General estimated 11% of CCAP payments had errors that caused overpayments. It's funny how the errors always cause overpayments. You know what I mean? It's like when you check your receipt at the supermarket. Anytime there's a mistake, it's always them getting the money. You know what I mean? They've never accidentally made something cheaper. And there are apparently 62 active CCAP investigations, and apparently the vast majority of them, it doesn't say in the news, but the vast majority of them are Somali, because they've worked out how to do it. It's like, as soon as you've got a system, people will work out how to do it. And why is it happening? I can tell you why it's happening. It's happening because left-wing politicians don't mind it happening, because it's happening to their voters. Their voters are getting rich off this. Their voters are bringing more voters in. They've got all these NGOs that are similarly funded through dodgy public money, taxpayer money, through USAID or whatever. Thank God Trump's shutting it down. And they're bringing Somalians over to Minnesota because, if you've got states that are, potentially swing states that can go either way, Republican or Democrat, a lot of those swing states will just be hanging by like 10,000 votes. So if you bring 100,000 Somalians into a state that's a swing state, you've made that state a Democrat state forever. You know what I mean? Those Somalians are always going to vote Democrat. They're always going to vote for the cash machine. Let's have a look at some of these politicians that capitulate and do the bidding of Somalis. Here's one. This is really funny because when politicians have to go and do something like eat food or kiss a baby that they don't want to do. Man, this is the ultimate example of that. Let's have a look at this. So this is Jacob Frey. He's the mayor. He's the mayor of Minnesota, or Minneapolis, I mean. So there he is. he's doing a photo opportunity with some Somali dude. Let's get it up so you can see it a bit better. Let's watch that again. And obviously he's got to pretend he's loving it. You know what I mean? Oh, yes. His face is not saying loving it, man. That is a pile of angry beans. That, yeah, you can shove that around your plate as much as you want, Jacob. It's not going anywhere. You're going to have to force that down. And then pretend it's delicious. And, man, this is... How can the food be that bad? Like, you go to hot countries. Yeah, there's litter everywhere. They're marrying their cousins or whatever, but the food is amazing. You know what I mean? It's genuinely delicious. How come it's not delicious? Well, actually, in this video, he's clearly not enjoying this. The food he's eating is apparently cambulo, which is a mixture of adzuki beans and grain, so corn or sorghum or whatever. So apparently most Westerners would not enjoy eating adzuki beans. It's well known as an acquired taste. Most Somali kids hate it at first, and lots of Somalis avoid it, and some people love it. But if you're trying to introduce someone like Jacob Frey to Somali food, this wouldn't be your go-to dish. So they have plenty of palatable foods such as barbecue goat or chicken and rice, flatbread with honey. Yeah, that's the kind of food I'm talking about. That sort of Mediterranean food, because Somalia should just be like a Mediterranean country, like, but a bit hotter and maybe a bit sandier, because it's got that amazing coastline. It could be a paradise, you know what I mean? It could be a paradise if, you know, there's just a different culture there. If it was, I'm not saying we should, you know, invade and administrate it ourselves, bring back British Empire, best empire in humanity's history. You know, maybe the Norwegians could this time. Maybe they deserve a go at running an empire. I think they'd be good at it. The Vikings were all right, weren't they? I mean, kind of. But anyway, Jacob Frey could be getting nice food. Instead, they've given him a mound of this nasty, nasty, nasty bean stuff. And you can tell from the smile on the Somali guy next to him, they're just taking the piss. The other big politician in Minnesota is Tim Walz, of course, or Tim Walz, who was nearly the vice president if Kamala had won. Obviously, she didn't win because nobody wanted to vote for her. But Tim Walz actually stood down as a result of this. Scandal around the daycare centres getting so much coverage, and said he would not run for a third term as Minnesota governor. And he says that immigrants are a huge strength to Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, just look at what they did to Somalia before they left it. Oh, they strengthened it so much. It's so strong now. If you went to Mogadishu, the one thing you'd say is like, wow, this is a strong place. You know what I mean? Immigrants built the West. It's like, well, it's nice of them to build the West before they built their own countries. But no, I'm being unfair. You can't let the bad actions of like 98% of Somalians ruin things for the idea of what Somalians are like that only exists in the heads of white liberal women. I don't, and they can't even blame this on white people, because white people have been explicitly barred from a lot of positions in non-profits and government agencies. Although, of course, there are white people behind this. As I said, the Democrats gerrymander the vote. They use mass immigration to gerrymander the vote. And now, civil war is breaking out. Tim Walz is now threatening to mobilize the Minnesota National Guard to keep the federal government out of Minnesota. And this is ostensibly because ICE, so immigration control, went in, and in the line of duty, they shot someone. And, you know, it's caused a big scandal. It's like, you know, it's almost like this year's George Floyd event, but it's, you know, it's a liberal white woman, so it's more of a George Floyd event. But, you know, this woman was shot. It's very sad, but she did drive at a ICE officer and whack him with her car. And you just can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't do that. You're dealing with a federal officer who's armed, who's going to protect themselves. But anyway, because this ICE protester, this anti-ICE protester, was shot by ICE, obviously the Democrats have seen this as an opportunity to sort of mobilize the National Guard, keep out the federal government, and cover the whole fraud story. And this is literally Civil War style rhetoric. He says, from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, you've done enough. Now, that's America. That's America. Is it happening in the UK? Well, what do you think the answer is? I'd say, obviously. There's a Somali-run children's daycare centre in England that has 4 staff but no children. It even failed an Ofsted report, even though it's got no kids. And in the UK, 72% of Somalians are in taxpayer-funded social housing, compared to a national rate of around 16 to 17%. And nearly 50% of these Somalis are economically inactive. They're like the new Scottish people, and that's compared to a national rate of 24%. I mean, I don't know, people say all cultures are equal. People are blank slates. If you bring a Somali into the UK, they become British, and I just don't think it happens like that. And also, you know, Somalians were behind like the 7/7 bombings and stuff. The stats around this are insane, by the way. Nearly half of London's social housing has been given to foreigners. And also, the people who are native Brits who need social housing tend to be kind of needier than the people coming in from overseas. Like, the native Brit who needs the social housing might be a frail 87-year-old man who's paid into the system for his whole life, and now he's not getting housed, just so that some 29-year-old who works under the counter for Deliveroo can get a house, and then use chain migration to bring in his whole village because, you know, they're going to vote for the Labour Party. I don't get it. Like, I just don't understand why they've got to be in the West. I mean, I'd understand if each person coming in from the Horn of Africa brought like $5 million, a suitcase full of Fabergé eggs, and was a brilliant computer science, but they're not. They're hugely overrepresented on welfare. They're a net drain on the economy. So why are they here? It's literally just for the votes. Now, before I go, that's 10 o'clock. I'm just going to quickly look at Stonewall being in crisis. This'll be. I think you'll enjoy this. So basically, the trans charity Stonewall has less than £92,000 left in reserves, and I think this is great news. There's trans Diane Abbott there, but this is great news because Stonewall was set up in the 80s. You know, there probably was some discrimination against, you know, gay and lesbian people then. Then the organisation was kind of taken over by the long tail of the TQ plus, who, you know, don't really have much to do with actually, you know, homosexual people, like transgender people. That's an identity thing. That's not to do with your sexuality. And queer and all that sort of stuff. That's just, you know, that's just a fashionable thing that anybody, it's just, you know, so that boring straight people can be part of the fun as well, can get their own pride float. They've got asexuals and stuff. Like, nobody's getting discriminated against because they're asexual. Like, asexuals are literally doing what every religious bigot wants you to do, which is to not have sex. Like, there's no dads out there being like, well, listen, while you're under my roof, it's my rules. None of this asexual stuff. You're going to suck a dick. You know what I mean? Nobody's saying that. It's the other way round. But because Stonewall got captured by this sort of gender mania lobby, and, you know, they're part of the, you know, the whole the funneling, the pipeline of funneling kids and funneling vulnerable people, autistic people into transitioning. You know, they did quite a lot of bad. And also they had this diversity champions scheme that was basically like a mafia shakedown. So hundreds of private and public organisations, including the BBC, pretty much everyone, were members of the diversity champions scheme. So in return for an annual payment, members would receive advice on issues such as the use of personal pronouns at work and whether single-sex toilets should be accessible to transgender people. The whole organisation was just captured. So it's genuinely great to see stuff like this just getting rolled back. Now, before I go, here's a fun thing. Nonstick Nick says, do they identify as a charity? Yeah, very, very good. But talking about Jacob Free, Penthouse Living has just said his mouth is filling up like a squirrel's. That's, you know, when he's eating those beans, man. Man, I felt from there. I could almost taste, you know, when you get like those really coarse beans, and like, where did I have them? In Mexico or something? And I was like, man, this is like, I gotta chew these. This is like dishwasher tablets, like the skin on them, like just nasty. I'm British. I like a little Rizla paper on the outside of my baked bean. You know, something that just dissipates, like thinly shaved garlic in a fine sauce. Not this like coarse like husk. But yeah, before I go, let's just pull this up. Let's just pull up this video. Here we go. Oh man, you're gonna like this. So this is a white convert to Islam, and this, I think, is showing how Islam is going to end. Islam is going to end because white women are moving in and taking it over. Let's have a look at this.
If you are a Muslim who is transphobic and homophobic, not only are you contributing to the mass killing of LGBTQ people, you are also contributing to the Muslim genocide by giving ammunition to Zionists and other Islamophobes, violently killing Muslims around the world, and allowing them to pinkwash our genocide by saying, hey, look, all Muslims are bad people because look what they would do to you in Gaza. Look what they would do to you in Muslim countries. And y'all could argue until your faces are blue in the comments about if it's haram or not. I literally don't care. You are meant to love people, respect, and show kindness to people. If your version of religion has to do with being a bigot that gets people killed, not hurting anyone, just being who they are.
I just got to ask, did she Google Islam before she joined? You know what I mean? Like, is this the first time she's heard of Islam? Like, she joined and then she's like, wait a minute. What are you guys doing? So does she not have access to a computer? Let's see what else she says.
I don't want any part of it. And keep in mind that in the Quran 2 times it says, to me my religion and to you yours, and there is no compulsion in Islam. It's literally haram for you to impose your religion and your beliefs on other people. No one's asking you to be trans. At the same time, you are also pushing away people who are trans, who are gay, from becoming Muslim. Whether you like it or not, there are LGBTQ Muslims who are part of our ummah. They are just as Muslim as you are. And at the end of the day, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah. Allah is greatest, Allah knows best, and you need to humble yourself.
Some people are saying that that's...
If you are Muslimophobic and homophobic...
Some people are saying that that's, you know, a satire, a parody, but no, like, she says Allah too well for it to be... She says it the right way. You know, nobody doing a parody knows that, but I don't know, I just think this is so funny. She's like, the things she says at the start, it's so
If you
funny.
are a Muslim who is transphobic and homophobic, not only are you contributing to the mass killing of LGBTQ people, you are also...
Not only are you contributing to the mass killing of LGBTQ people, she's saying that in the white liberal way, as in, you know, it's literal genocide against trans people, when it isn't a literal genocide against trans people. What she doesn't know is that Islam actually does kill gay people. There is an actual genocide against gay people in Islamic countries. You know, maybe not all of them, but certainly in the more hardline ones, like Afghanistan, like Iran, like they hang people, they stone people to death for being gay, and for a lot, you know, for other things as well. They kill people, and she's like, oh, you're contributing to your words against them is contributing to this pretend genocide against gay people. It's like, no, Islam, did you not Google it? But it's just funny because she blatantly joined Islam just because, you know, Republicans, Donald Trump, doesn't like it. So she's like, well, it must be good then. And funnily enough, this sort of reminds me of the organisation Men in Sheds. There was this organisation set up, and it was just men would go to sheds and meet and, you know, work on hobbies like toy trains or whatever. And it was good for their mental health, and they got community and formed bonds and became friends and stuff. And then women were like, well, we want to be part of this organisation Men in Sheds as well. And the men are like, well, it's kind of a Men in Sheds thing. And then, you know, the women are like, well, you're being sexist. This isn't right. You've got to let us into the Men in Sheds group. So then the women came in, and then the men can't have their fun. They can't tell their jokes. The women don't want to make the train sets or whatever. And the whole thing falls apart. And men have to go back to being suicidal and depressed just because they can't. And then women are like, well, why don't you do something to meet up, to form bonds and sheds? You could work on hobbies or something. It's like they did. That's literally what they were doing before you came in with your copies of Marie Claire and ruined it. But the great thing about this is that this woman is clearly in the West. You know what I mean? She's in a nice, clean house. She's talking like this without being killed. So she's obviously in, like, I'm guessing, America. She's in the West. So because she's in the West, it's not like the Muslim clerics can just kill her with a rock like they would if they were in Afghanistan or if she was their sister. Like, they can't kill her. So this is what's going to bring down Islam. This is what's going to reform it. White liberal women. We should encourage this. I'm going to hand out flyers. At, like, the Green Party conference. Oh, actually, they beat me to it with that one. I'm going to hand out flyers at, you know, wherever white liberal women go. You know, the next the next Tori Amos concert. I'm going to hand out flyers saying, have you considered converting to Islam? And also she's like that, the way she's talking about it, she's like, oh, if you don't change, then I don't want to be part of it. It's like, have you not read the rules? There isn't an exit clause with this particular religion. I don't know, it's just so funny. It's so funny to join like a religion that's 1,300 years old and be like, oh, I'm going to change this religion. I'm going to, like we did with Men in Sheds, I'm going to change Islam. I respect it. I respect the confidence. You know that saying, like, I wish I had the confidence of a mediocre white man? I wish I had the confidence of any liberal white woman. I would just, you'd be able to dominate the world like this woman's doing. And fair play to her. Hope she does it. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm going to do another stream soon. I think I'm going to start doing streams during the day. Do people watch stuff during the day? Maybe I'll do like public ones during the day or something. Because I think 9 p.m. at night is kind of late for people to stay up, and I think I've just about got my streaming setup done. There's a lot of wires, but it seems to be just about working. Oh, and I'm doing a tour coming up. Oh, I'm getting merch for the tour. So before I go, I'll just tell you about the merch. So I'm going to get dog whistles with racist written on the side. So it's a racist dog whistle. And I'm gonna get like key holders that's like Abu Hamza, and like his hooks are like come out where his hands are, because it's funny. And I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book called What's Racist Today, that's based on all the things that are racist today. So yeah, I hope you have a good week. I'm really bad at saying goodbye. You know what? I'm just going to say bye-bye, bye-bye. And if you're coming to Southampton, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye, bye-bye, bye, bye. How do I end this? Where's the button? See, when you do GB News, there's somebody pressing the buttons for you. And it's much easier. There it is. Okay, bye.